Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 69, James. Lucky number 69. Tonight, we're going to do Name That Stadium like we always do, cover the news from this past week, and then we're going to provide our Week 9 power rankings and game picks. To close things down, we'll do our question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going good, dude. Friday night, I'm happy. We're here. We're talking football. There was a whole shit ton of stuff that happened in the NFL this past week, so we got plenty to go through, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. Name that stadium. For anybody who's watching, as you can see, James is out there traveling the country. Every week, he's got a different stadium in his background. Typically, during the regular season, that is a home team. And basically, we're just asking if you think you know what stadium that is, hit us up in the comments section. The first person to get it right gets a special shout out in next week's show. Where were you at last week, man?
Last week, I was at Ford Field. It was kind of one of those weeks where there wasn't shit for games where I hadn't already used that stadium.
Okay.
The only other option would have been on Sunday or Monday games would have been the Saints, but I was already used that New Orleans first week of the season, so I didn't want to duplicate it. So I was like, I'll give the Lions some love.
Give them some action, man. Well, I appreciate that. We're diehard Lions fans, even though looks like they're going 0-17.
Yeah, exactly. I told the wife after the Lions game, I said I was fucking done with them. I'm fine with the team.
Yeah, dude, it's tough. It's tough. But I'm sure we'll talk plenty about them as the show goes on here. So let's kick it over to the recap of the past week. And I have got a ton in my notes. I will try to get through it quickly here. And this is in no particular order. But I do want to start off with motherfucking Cooper Rush, fire up chips. Last week when I made that pick, I told you I was taking Dallas even if Cooper Rush started. And I'm sure you knew I was probably only half serious, half joking about it, but I stuck with it anyhow, knowing that Dak was out, which kind of came down to the wire. Here's the thing. I do like Cooper Rush as a passer. I watched him at Central, and then I watched what he did in, these past couple preseasons. But clearly, it's not the same as having Dak in the game. And so I thought it was just totally awesome that he went out there, 325 passing yards, 2 TDs, and, one of them, the go-ahead TD to Amari Cooper with less than a minute to go. I mean, it just... fucking fire up chips, man. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, the thing I forgot about was it was a primetime game when I made my pick, and Kirk Cousins fucking blows in primetime. So
I thought he got over all that shit.
Oh, yeah, right.
He relapsed, is what you're telling me.
No, the quote he got over all that shit was because he won a playoff game in New Orleans. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
he
only
had
one
won. He had
fucking
won. Yeah, so he didn't get over it. That was the exception. This is the rule. That's what you're telling me.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's move on to more quarterback news. Frickin' Aaron Rodgers, maybe you know more about this than I do. I just, apparently he's not vaccinated. He tested positive. He's going to be out this week. I heard possibly even next week, depending on the timing of the testing and if he comes back positive again. And it's a big deal because I guess he sort of, it was like a word play in the offseason, said he was like fully immunized or something. And, people are taking it like he misled everybody. And now the Packers, I heard, are being looked at by the league, possibly penalized for not being more on top of this. And I think he addressed the media, I want to say earlier today, and I didn't follow up on it to see what he said or however it played out. But, I mean, this is a team that's, I mean, they're fighting for that number one seed in the NFC and home field advantage. And just like, wow, this kind of like, it's actually a pretty big deal, man.
Yeah, it is a big deal. And you know, I read what he said, and I've heard all week what he said with the about being immunized. And so first to start with that, he was asked, and I have the quote. So just give me 1 second. Let me find that the direct quote on what he said. He said
Sure.
he was asked whether or not he was vaccinated, and his answer was, "Yeah, I've been immunized."
Mm, yeah,
So
that's some suspect stuff, man. Obviously, it's not true, but I did hear it was like a holistic doctor or
yeah,
whatever.
so with that, and the if if you kind of piece it together, the CDC defined immunized from COVID-19 back in August. They defined it as fully vaccinated.
Okay, so yeah, he was fully untrue.
Yeah, and also then after that, he started talking about how he's not going to judge any of players on his team that are not vaccinated or choose not to get the vaccination. His reasoning for not getting the vaccination kind of partially makes sense, but it partially doesn't. It seems like a little bit of bullshit, because apparently there's so for the mRNA vaccines, he's allergic to an ingredient in them.
Okay,
So he couldn't have that. So Johnson was the only option, but he didn't want to risk the side effects for the vaccine.
okay,
So he had gone to his doctor, and his doctor gave him some therapy to increase his immunity or whatever. What I don't know. He didn't really go
some kind
into
of antibodies or something. Yeah.
yeah. And then so he appealed to the league to say to allow say he's fully vaccinated. Where the problem lies for Rodgers, and actually actually it falls on Rodgers, it falls on the league, and it falls on the Green Bay Packers for it, because with their protocol, whenever you're inside the our team facilities, you have to have a mask on,
Yeah.
including that includes indoor press conferences. And he didn't have a mask on, and he was doing this, and the league knew he wasn't vaccinated. So the
Oh,
league never said anything. And but there's a couple instances where like there was like a Halloween party picture where he was with MVS, I think it was. Oh no,
okay,
Mercedes Lewis. He was with Mercedes Lewis indoors, unmasked, standing next to each other,
gotcha.
and, and stuff like that, where there are clear violations of the league's protocol for unvaccinated players and doing the press conferences. So if the league were to want to make an example, which I think the league has to now, Rodgers could potentially be suspended.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, my whole thing, and we talked about this a while back, is that, I'm not like some kind of hater if you don't get vaccinated. I think it's between you and your doctor. And if your
Mhm.
doctor says, hey, don't get it, and maybe that was the case here. Maybe his doctor was like, well, you're allergic to what's in these couple, and then there's this other one, but there's some side effects that maybe are going to be bad for you. Let's try this instead. That's all fine and dandy with me, but don't fudge the truth when you're asked about it, and then don't violate protocols that put your team in jeopardy now. And so it's like just be open and honest about it, and let's move on with life. I'm not going to hate you one way or another. I mean, hate's the wrong word, but like dog you one way or another. It's just that I don't know, dude. It's a story that shouldn't be a story. That's what it is.
Yeah, and part of it was like his explanation for kind of not going into his whole vaccination status was because at the time, and it is true, everyone that was coming out and saying they're not getting vaccinated, they were just crucified in the
Okay.
media. Like, what are you going to do? You're doing this to your team. You're not all in. Blah blah blah.
So he didn't want to take the heat.
he just, he wanted it to go away.
Okay.
And it was like I was just kind of glancing through some of his quotes on it, but he was like his, you know, where was it? It was it's something along the lines of that the risk of his risk for a reaction to the vaccine was greater than the risk of getting COVID. And that's why he chose not to be vaccinated.
And that's fine, but don't play this word game and mislead people. And yeah, I don't know, but hey, it's all right. We're here now. He's going to miss a game, maybe two, and who knows? Maybe get suspended. And Jordan Love's going to get a shot to show why he was their first round pick a couple years ago. And so, we'll see what happens. I think it's kind of funny that he's going to start this week against Mahomes because I very distinctly remember when he was drafted, they did a Mahomes comparison to him. And they were like, that's why the Packers took this guy, even though they didn't need him, because they thought he had the potential to be the next Mahomes. And so, I don't know. Something about that just stuck out for me when I saw the matchup and the timing, and it's just kind of like a happy coincidence kind of thing. So
yeah, with the protocols, with him testing positive and being unvaccinated, the earliest he can return is a week from tomorrow. So it would be the Saturday before their Week 10 game, which is
but that's
against
if
Seahawks.
That's if he tests negative.
Yes,
And
that would be the earliest he could possibly return.
yeah, and the tricky part about that is that you could continue to test positive for a couple months after you get it. And so I think there's a different, either you test negative or a certain amount of time goes by. What is it, like 2 weeks or something, and then you can come back anyhow.
No, I think with what they agreed on was you have to test negative because
Oh shit, he could be out for the rest of the season, man.
for a I know for a vaccinated player that you have to have two negative tests separated by 24 hours to
Yeah.
be able to return. So I think it's and
Well,
you have to
because
be symptom free and blah 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 whatever.
yeah, because the original CDC guideline was that I mean, I know this for work. It was like if you tested positive, um, you had to do it was like originally like a 14-day quarantine, and then you
Hmm.
could come back even if you were still testing positive because at that point, like you were deemed no longer contagious, and you could hypothetically continue to test positive for a couple months. And so, but maybe the NFL is doing different stuff because they obviously got to have their own rules for this kind of thing. So,
Yeah, I think it's, let's see, unvaccinated.
I mean, I'd have to go back and see like what was the Cam Newton thing last year, because he wasn't vaccinated and he was out for a little while. I wonder, did he test negative and that's when he got the clear to come back, or was it a certain amount of days he had to be quarantined and then he got to come back regardless, or. But that could have all
Yeah.
changed from last year to this year too.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that it's you have to test negative. You have to have two negative tests.
Okay.
Here we go. What protocols must okay, here we go. 10 days wait even if before he can rejoin his team on the field. Come on. Mhm. If he does have symptoms, at least 24 hours must have passed since the fever was last detectable. And he said he had symptoms today, or he
Okay.
had symptoms at some point. Okay. Additionally, for those vaccinated or unvaccinated, a player must show two negative COVID-19 tests 24 hours apart and get clearance from a team physician.
That changes it big time, man.
Yeah,
Because you can keep testing positive for a long time.
yeah, exactly.
Wow, that'd be wild. But I mean, hey, we'll see. I got to believe those are probably rare cases where you keep testing positive, but I have heard of it. I've heard of people testing positive 2, 3 months after they got COVID, and
Hmm.
they feel fine, and they're according to whatever CDC and doctors or whatever, they're not contagious anymore, but it's still in their system high enough that they keep testing positive. And so I don't know. Either way, I think we're beating a dead horse. Let's move it on here, but I'll keep it on quarterback news, and then we'll come back and hit some other stuff. Jameis Winston, major injury last week against the Bucks. Going to be out for the season, tore his knee up. Trevor Siemian came in, replaced him because Taysom Hill was out with a concussion. And you know, Simeon, he had a good game. Obviously, he led him to the win, and he's a veteran. He's got some decent starting experience, but I mean, I got to believe if Taysom Hill's cleared, which I thought he was, he's going to start. Is my no? They're going with Simeon.
Simeon's starting this week.
Okay.
I don't know if Taysom Hill was cleared or not. I just saw I didn't delve that deep into it, but I did read that Peyton announced this morning that Simeon was starting.
Hey, that's fine. He's a good passer, man, and I'm sure in that offense he'll probably do just fine. I mean, he obviously last week did fine, so. And I've been a big advocate for the Taysom Hill gadget guy, not the full time guy, anyhow. So,
Yeah, I would say it was more of a defense thing than Simeon
okay.
doing much in the game. I mean, Simeon only had like 156 yards.
Oh, okay. I just saw something on NFL.com about, oh, Trevor Simeon outduels Tom Brady. And it was like, oh, so he must have had a pretty good game. I didn't watch it, but that would make sense. The Saints defense has been playing pretty well this year.
Yeah, and the game clinching, it was a pick six that Brady threw. But yeah,
Uh,
Simeon was 16 for 29, 159 yards, one TD.
okay. Well, good enough to get the win.
Yeah, and it's not like I mean, they rushed for 100. They only had 350 yards of total offense.
Yeah. It was about the defense. I got you. That makes sense. Okay, continuing the quarterback news. Deshaun Watson not traded, despite some of the rumors and some of the hype. Nothing panned out. I did hear a rumor that Houston was not exactly anxious to make the move because they believe there will be a bidding war in the offseason. And so
So,
they're just going to keep him on the shelf and see what happens.
see, I'd heard that everything was.
With Miami, it was all like negotiated out. And then did you hear the thing like Flores came in at the last minute or whatever and fought for Tua or
No, so what I heard is everything was all ironed out. Miami, the outstanding thing was Watson settling the
civil?
lawsuits, the civil
Okay.
lawsuits, and just get that behind him. And he was actually apparently negotiating a settlement
Oh, they
for it
wanted the settlement before they would green light the
before they
trade?
would greenlight the trade.
Oh, okay.
And he was negotiating the settlement, and where it broke down, the settlement with the 22 accusers broke down over the NDA, and that's where everything broke down. So the settlement wasn't happening. So Miami kind of pulled back and said, we're not going to make this deal without that, and that's why he wasn't traded. And I just saw a blip that Simeon is starting over Hill. So Taysom Hill is playing this week and he's
Okay.
cleared. It's Simeon starting, but yeah. So it was basically what derailed it was they couldn't get the settlement done.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's segue to more trade news. Von Miller, I'm sure you heard by now, traded to the Rams. Um, people are freaking pumped about this move. And, I think it was a great pickup for the Rams. They just keep trading away draft picks, but it doesn't matter because they're getting talent. Um, and I heard a story the other day on 97.1. Maybe there's truth to it, maybe I don't know, but they were saying there was more to it than just basically the team getting him out of there and putting him on a championship team and whatever, and he's got a home out in California and all this whatever. I heard that normally he throws a big Halloween party and it's like a six-figure party. And this year he wasn't going to do it, but I guess like some of the teammates and stuff talked him into it, and he was asking everybody to put in like a certain amount of money, like 5 grand each or something. And I guess some of the players balked at it because some of them weren't even going to go. And even though they weren't going, he was still asking for them to pay for it. And I guess he like flipped out and it turned into this big thing. And I highly doubt that was like a deciding factor in getting him off the team. But I just thought, wow, you're this guy that makes like fucking 15 million a year. You throw a Halloween party and it's all like fucking lavish and you got like big entertainers and all this stuff, and then you're hitting your teammates up for money. It's like, or how about you just fucking throw the party if you want to throw a party, or don't throw the party if you don't want to throw the party. But I mean, we're not like fucking high school or college where you got to be like asking people to chip in, man. This is a fucking grown man making 15 million a year. It just, I don't know, dude. I heard that and it just was like, come on, And of course, there's always more to these stories than and whatever else. But hey, he's going to the Rams. Going to have a shot winning another Super Bowl, all this stuff, whatever. Like, hey, let's. I'm jealous of the Rams, man. I mean, they have so much talent on that team, on
Hmm.
both sides of the ball. It's just like it's intense.
Yeah, see, I hadn't heard the whole Halloween party thing with it. I had been hearing rumblings for a couple weeks that Denver was going to trade him anyways, like because I mean he's not going to come back. He's not. They're not going to resign him. I believe he's on his last year of his contract, and they were going to trade him, get something back because they're going to have to pay him a whole shit ton of money to resign him, and they got to
Yeah.
do kind of like a rebuild.
Yeah, he's
And
not been
I,
living up to it this year anyhow. Yeah.
yeah. So I had heard that they were going to trade him anyway. So like I had heard that before Halloween. So I don't think it had anything to do with the supposed Halloween party story.
That was just the cherry on top.
Yeah,
Okay.
but apparently with him leaving, he did personal video messages to like a bunch of people in the organization and teammates and stuff like that to like as he was like on his way out the door sent them personal thank you video messages for his time there.
Gotcha. Well, that's a nice touch. So, maybe this stuff when it gets in the news, man, they obviously like to play it up. And so the Halloween party, I don't know, maybe not a big deal as big of a deal as they made it out to be.
Yeah.
But it's all good, man. Hey, he's on a freaking championship team now, so it was a win for him. Um, okay, moving on because I know we're really milking the news of the week here. I'll start burning through it a little bit, but the fucking Jets had another huge upset, beating the Bengals. Like, what the frick is going on with the Jets? Is it just teams totally looking past them? Or is it just Mike White is like the greatest thing since sliced bread and nobody knew about it? I mean, hey, 400 yards in his first start, second quarterback to do it other than Cam Newton. Pretty impressive. And, it's a bummer he got hurt last night, but it sounds like he'll be healthy for next week. And so that's cool. I'm just fucking blown away that the Jets knocked off Tennessee however many weeks ago, and now they're knocking off Cincinnati. Which, by the way, with Tennessee, I was watching NFL Network, and they were saying 5 of their 6 wins have come against playoff teams from last year. That's impressive, man. It's and it still just blows my mind that they lost to the Jets.
Yeah, that blows my mind. Looking back at it, I'm not too surprised about Cincinnati losing to the Jets. It was kind of that classic trap game because
Okay.
they had the Baltimore game the week before, and then this week the Cincinnati has the Browns. So you have that game of a team kind of down and out.
They're looking at everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, that right between two big division opponents. So I'm not surprised about it. Which, speaking of that game, I have something funny when we do the picks. But
Okay.
but yeah, but I mean the Jets. I don't know. As they're hard to decipher.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, it's nice that they have that sort of potential to just blow up here and there, but holy cow, man, just some shocker wins, man. Not expecting those.
Yeah.
All right, so here, let me just chain through my last handful of news pieces, and you can chime in at the end on any one of them you want, or you can ignore them if you want, or whatever. But I'll try to speed it up a little bit here. Derrick Henry got hurt. Pretty big deal for Tennessee. They were quiet at the trade deadline. Some people were saying maybe they'd go after Marlon Mack, even though it's in the division, or maybe they'd do something to try and shore that up. They signed Adrian Peterson. He's old as dirt at this point. Maybe he's still got something in the tank. Jeremy McNichols, other guy that's going to be stepping up, already on the roster. We'll see how that shakes out. But obviously, he was their most valuable player on that team, and so it's going to affect them. Next up, Calvin Ridley looks like is going to be stepping away from the game for a little while. Has some mental health concerns. I don't really totally know what to make of it. I didn't read a lot of it, but it's definitely a big loss for Atlanta. I think whatever the guy's got going on, there's no shame in saying you need to get help and stepping away. It's probably a smart move if when you're in doubt. Just it's better to be safe than sorry kind of thing. Deshaun Jackson not traded, and so he was released. And I don't know if he'll have any takers. Maybe we'll talk about him going to the Lions or something. But and then same with OBJ, he was released. You believe somebody's going to claim him on waivers. We'll find out sooner than later. And then the last thing I had in my notes, sad story, Henry Ruggs, drinking and driving car accident in Las Vegas, killed a lady and her dog. Dude, this guy was going 111 miles per hour over the speed limit. Over the speed limit.
Yeah.
156 miles per hour. And he was drinking, obviously. That's not good. None of it's good. It just, it's fucking sad all around, man. Sad all around. So, I'll let you.
The Ruggs thing's just fucking dumb. I mean, plus on top of that, he had a loaded gun or two in the car. So what I want to say about that, you have taxis, you have Uber, you have Lyft. You don't want to deal with one of those three things. Every player is given a number by the NFL, and you call that number, and you will have a ride within minutes.
Yeah.
And you don't want to take advantage of this, dude. You deserve what you get.
It sucks, man. It sucks. Sucks for that family. I don't know. It's really sad story, dude. Totally unnecessary. But what's done is done, and I don't know. But So yeah, that was all my news pieces. If there was any of those that you wanted to hit on, OBJ or any of them, you know, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on, man.
No, I
Deshaun to
think
Detroit, give us the deep threat.
all right. If Sean McVay doesn't have use for you, your career's done.
Yeah, he's. Here's the thing. I just thought that, and I believe he's done. Yeah, I mean, he's barely played in however many years now. He's always hurt. But he is a deep threat. And Detroit, even though Goff is not a deep passer, we've been running the ball pretty well. And it just seems like just put that threat out there where we can play action and try and drop some bombs and just give it a shot. But I don't know. And in fact, I spoiled my question of the week, James. That was actually my question of the week. But okay, we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it later. So don't respond to that. Save your rebuttal for later. Anything else on the news before we move on?
No, that's it.
Okay. So kicking it over to our Week 9 power rankings. James, why don't you hit me up with 1 through 5, man?
All right. So let me make sure I have the right tab open. Okay. So the Rams, they moved up to my number 1 spot again. They won. The Cardinals lost. Cardinals drop. Rams move up. That's up 1 spot. There's a little couple quirks on my power rankings this week once I get into it. The Bills, they moved up 4 spots to number 2. It's just kind of like a couple teams ahead of them lost, or I'm kind of really down on after some shit that's going on. So
Okay.
they kind of the Bills and the Cowboys moved up 4 spots each. So I have the Cowboys at 3. Arizona, after losing they lost this past week, right?
Yeah, to Green Bay. Yep.
Yeah, after losing this past week, they dropped down 3 spots to number 4. And then and plus Arizona might be on a steady decline now, especially with depending on what's going on with Kyler,
Yeah.
and his injury. It looks like the same as last year where he got hurt and they kind of
They just faded away.
tailed
Yeah.
off. They faded away. And then at number 5, I have the Buccaneers. They dropped 2 spots after losing to the Saints. I think it was just an off day. I mean, I knew, or I believe last week I picked the Saints to win that game. That was one of the ones we had different. It's just something told me it was going to be an off day. I didn't know that Jameis was going to get hurt and they were going to lose to a backup quarterback, but it just something told me that Tampa Bay was going to have an off day last week, and I think that's all it was. So I didn't really kill them that much.
Okay. I'll save my comment on Tampa Bay for the next bracket because I got them at 6 this week. Starting at the top, I got the Rams at 1, moved them up a spot. I realized they lost to the Cardinals a few weeks ago, and I have seen people putting Green Bay at number 1. I get it. You can make some logical arguments to some of that, but I think the Rams are the better, more consistent team at this point, and it just happened that they lost a close game to the Cardinals while the Cardinals were hot. Like you're saying, it looks like the Cardinals are maybe starting to have some decline issues for a number of reasons. But I got the Cardinals at 2. I only dropped them down 1 spot. I'm not prepared to put Green Bay ahead of them. And really my thought here is that the Kyler Murray situation is going to really dictate how I feel about this team after this next week, because it's going to tell me, is it like last year, like you're saying, or is it going to be okay? And if it's okay, I just feel like if they rematch Green Bay, they'd beat them. I really do. It was kind of like a fluky win for Green Bay at the end of that game. And so I only dropped them down 1. At 3, I got Buffalo. This was sort of a reset on my board. I bumped them up 2 spots. Both Dallas and Buffalo won while Tampa Bay lost. And I looked hard at it and I thought, man, I feel like at this stage of the game, Buffalo is the better team. I had to leapfrog them over Dallas just to kind of correct some stuff that happened in my board in previous weeks. And then Dallas at 4, that's where they were last week. It stayed the same. It was a narrow win over Minnesota. but a win nonetheless. I just don't see them higher than my top three teams right now. And so it's, I want to see them get a quality win over a quality opponent, and then I can feel more comfortable with them going higher than this. I really do like Dallas a lot. I'm just, I don't know. Like, I still keep thinking about last year, and I'm like, man, they just are so night and day different. It just makes me wonder if the bottom's going to fall out at some point. And then at 5, I got Green Bay. I bumped them up one spot. Solid win over my top team. But like I said, there was some luck involved, and I just don't want to go crazy bumping them up. And I'm sure next week it'll be even different now with Rodgers being out, but we'll cross that bridge when the time comes. Back to you at 6, man.
So for me, I have 5 teams in the NFC that I think have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl, and my rankings kind of go in that order. And with this Rodgers news, that puts Green Bay as number 5 now. I think there's concerns going forward on what his availability actually is going to be. Is he going to miss just the one game? How many games is he going to miss? I think their bye week is week 11.
Okay.
I think, but anyways, so maybe he's out till after the bye. Who knows? Look at last year with like Cam Newton. Cam was kind of having a decent start to the season. He got COVID. He tailed off. Lamar Jackson, the same thing.
Yeah.
It took them a while to get back to it. So this whole COVID thing with being unvaccinated gives me a lot of concerns with Green Bay. I almost dropped them down further, but I want to see how the team reacts, how long Rodgers is before I way overreact to it. And that's one of my quirks, because Green Bay dropped the spot even though they won last week.
Okay.
At number 7, I have the Chargers. They dropped 3 spots. I didn't really kill them that much because of the fact that I told you going in, like, I had some hesitation about Belichick.
You did.
I had a lot of hesitation on the game. I thought there was a chance that the Patriots could upset the Chargers based on prior performance, based on coaching, and so I didn't really kill them that much. But they had to drop a little bit to reflect losing to a team I have way lower down on the board.
Okay.
At number 8, I have the Bengals. I kept the Bengals where they were. And this is, I forget the player it was, but basically what the game boiled down to last week was there was probably the worst penalty actually called penalty that I've seen in a long time in the NFL, where they called a helmet to helmet on somebody when it was clear that the offensive player initiated the helmet to helmet contact.
Okay.
And that kind of killed, like, it would have given the Jets or the Bengals the ball back, and it ultimately ended up allowing the Jets to run out the clock and didn't give the Bengals the ball back to give them a chance to tie or take the lead. And so that's I was kind of hesitant to drop them. Plus, like I told you, it's like the ultimate potential trap game.
Yeah.
Between 2 big time division opponents.
Okay.
At number 9, I have the Saints. They bumped up 3 spots. I think this is an overreaction to them beating the Buccaneers. They won. They lost Jameis. I'm concerned about the team at the quarterback position going forward. With Jameis, the team had an outside chance at making a playoff run. Without him, I don't know what this team is going to be. I want to see what they do, or what happens going forward with them. But I might have to drop them back down a little bit. It kind of looks like I bumped them too high.
Okay.
At number 10, I have the 49ers. They bumped up 3 spots as well. The 49ers seem to be starting to get a little bit healthier, and they're in a tough division, so they're going to have some losses, but I think they are definitely a top 10 team in the NFL, especially once they get some of these players back, like Kittle and Garoppolo's not fucking up.
Well, I like that you're positive on him because I'm down on him, and I don't like being down on him. But kicking it over my way at 6, I got Tampa Bay. I dropped them down 3 spots. Kind of a steep drop, and maybe not totally warranted, but some of this is just kind of the way the board worked out with other teams winning and losing. I will say this about Tampa Bay. I do have a concern with how much Brady is throwing the ball. And, he looks great so far. But at his age and this stage of his career, I am just concerned that as the season goes on, that could be a factor. I don't want to see these guys wear out his arm before the playoffs and them fall off the cliff. But Brady, he's obviously a freaking smart guy, knows his body. And so if he feels good about it, okay, you kind of got to trust him. I don't know. I'm just nervous about it. At 7, I got Tennessee. I moved them up 1 spot. I thought it was a quality win, so I'm giving them a bump. But going forward, it's all about what's going on with Derrick Henry and how can they perform without him. And so, there's a lot of risk that they start sliding down the board again because they just lost their most valuable player. At 8, I got New Orleans. I bumped them up 4 spots. And just looking at this team, they did have a beatdown win over Green Bay in Week 1. Now they're beating Tampa Bay, and so that when they're feeling good, they can play with the best of them. But the Jameis injury, yeah, it's a factor. How's that going to change things for this team going forward? I don't know, but I wanted to give them a little bit of love for this week anyhow. At 9, I got Baltimore. I moved them up 2 spots, which is just insane because they were on a bye week. But this was it had a lot to do with Cleveland and Cincinnati both losing. And not just losing, but appearing to have some serious cracks in the armor, injury issues, some other things going on with these teams. Obviously Cleveland had some of the drama with OBJ and whatever else, but Baltimore got the benefit of that even though they were just sitting at home. So, and then at 10, I got the Browns. I dropped them down 1 spot. And it's, here's the thing. It's not like just the injuries and things like that because, they still have all the potential in the world. But this week when I was going through looking at the records, I couldn't keep them where they were at when they're sitting at 4-4. And, they're at the point where they got to lock some shit up and start winning some games, or no matter how much I like them, I got to keep dropping them down the board. So, back to you at 11, man.
All right, so at 11, I have Baltimore. I had them at 11 last week. They didn't play. I didn't have much go on around them to where they would get a bump or drop. At 12, I have the Titans. Yeah, the Titans beat the Colts, and it was an impressive, gritty win. I dropped them 3 spots because of losing Henry, and I mean Henry's their offense, and without him, I think this team is gonna go on the decline. With the difference is yeah, they'll probably win the AFC South, but with Derrick Henry, they're a Super Bowl contender. Without Derrick Henry, they're a playoff has-been. And that's then at 13, I have the Colts. They dropped 3 spots as well. They lost to Tennessee. They lost 2 games to Tennessee this year, not just the one, but they've lost both games to Tennessee, and so they're kind of sitting there at 13 now. They probably might go up, might depending on what happens this week, but
sure.
they might get a bump back up again. At 14, I have the Raiders. They didn't play. I really wanted to drop them for all this off the field shit that's going on there, but I want to see how they respond this week before I drop them. I mean, they're just in turmoil, but they overcame the getting rid of Gruden issue and see what happens. But who do they have at wide receiver now?
Yeah, Brian Edwards and Zay Jones, and I don't know.
Exactly, and that's a concern, which we'll delve further into that later. At 15, I have the Patriots. I gave them a one spot bump for beating the Chargers. even though they beat the Chargers, which is one of my top teams, I'm still not that impressed with the Patriots. They're kind of middling around the middle of the league with how I'm seeing them play.
Okay. I hear you. Okay, kicking it over my way at 11, I got Cincinnati. I dropped them down one spot. And, I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt, James, that they're lost to the Jets, like you're saying. Trap game, maybe similar to like what happened to Tennessee. They're still a great team. It's not something worse. It was just an any given Sunday kind of thing. So I'm going to just only move them down one. At 12, I got the Chargers. This was my biggest drop on the board. I moved them down 5 spots. And this is an issue of, kind of similar to me looking at Cleveland. I'm like, okay, now the Chargers are sitting at 4-3, and I'm just starting to question how much I trust this team. And when I look at the teams around them, like Cleveland and Cincinnati, I feel like they have some similar inconsistencies. And so this was just like a board reset move where I'm like, I'm going to put them here till I see some more out of them and get more comfortable with them one way or another. At 13, I got Kansas City. Oh, go ahead.
With the Chargers, one thing you gotta remember is 2 of their 3 losses are to the 2 best coaches in the NFL currently.
It's true. It's true. I know you like making the case for them, but do that on your board, motherfucker. Do that on your board. No, hey, no, it's cool. It's I like having that back and forth. At 13, I got Kansas City. I moved them up one spot. Honestly, I really don't even think they deserve the bump with the way they got that win. But like everybody else on my board lost around them, so they get a bump. At 14, I got the Colts. It was a tight game to the Titans, man, and so I'm dropping them by one spot. I still believe they have an upward trajectory and they should make the playoffs. But we don't know, man. I mean, we've seen kind of the good, bad, and the ugly out of the Colts this year. And at 15, I got the Raiders. There wasn't a game, and just unlike the Ravens, there was no benefit of the board action around them, so they stayed put. Back to you at 16.
All right, 16, I have the Browns. I dropped them one spot for the loss. I probably really should have killed them. Look, they lost to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh didn't have a fucking kicker. What the fuck? At 17, I have Kansas City. Yeah, they won. They didn't deserve a bump up. They probably deserved a bump down because they looked like they made Daniel Jones look like the fucking best, one of the best run offenses in the league. And the only reason the Giants lost is because of stupid boneheaded fucking mistakes.
Yeah,
like it pass or roughing the passer when you get an interception that would have sealed the game, or I mean
jumping off sides. Yeah,
jumping off sides, and like what the fuck. At 18, I have Seattle. They got a 2-spot bump up. This is more of a teams ahead of them lost and they won, so type of thing. So that it's not a reflection really. 18, it feels really high to me for Seattle
until they get Russ back. Yeah,
even after they get Russ back, that the defense looks like shit.
Okay.
19, I have the Washington football team. They dropped down one spot after a loss, but it looks like their defense is starting to come around. And if that defense comes around, they might be able to maintain in the top 20 on my board, but we will see. 20, I have the Giants. They dropped one spot after losing to the Chiefs. I probably again should have smoked them more because they played well, but was that because the Chiefs fucking blow, or was that actually a reflection on the Giants? But the Giants would have won the fucking game if it weren't for boneheaded plays, and so they dropped the one spot. Only.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Okay, so for me, I got Pittsburgh at 16. Even though they beat Cleveland, I didn't give them a bump. Cleveland dealing with some injuries, and Pittsburgh, I just don't trust them enough to have them go higher than this on my board right now. I got to see more consistency out of them, and maybe I'll get more comfortable with it. But 17, I got the 49ers. I moved them up one spot. They got the win. That's great. I do like the encouraging things you're saying about them maybe getting healthy and, moving in the right direction. I'd like to move them up my board. I just haven't really seen enough out of them that I believe that they're going to be a legit playoff contender, at least not yet. They definitely have the talent. It's got a lot of the same guys on the team that went to the Super Bowl just a few years ago. And so, hopefully they can pull it together. I love Shanahan. I love a lot of those guys. 18, I got the Seahawks. Yay, they beat the Jags. And so I moved them up one spot. But I'm really not going crazy about it. I think that this team, until they get Russ back, they're really not a real threat. At 19, I got the Patriots. I moved them up one spot. I was reading about this today. They have the Chargers number, man. They won 6 straight against them. And, I hear what you're saying about just not like really seeing enough out of them. But I do think Mac Jones is getting better and he's playing great as a rookie. And I do think their defense is getting better every week. And so there's a part of me that thinks this team could make a run into the playoffs. It's like Belichick has been known to take teams that look like dog shit early in the year, and by the end of the year, like, oh my God, man, they've like locked it down. And I feel like that's happening this year with this team. But we'll see, because the first part of the year so far has been very rocky for them. And then at 20, I got Denver. I moved them up 2 spots. I know they just barely beat Washington, who's now way down on my board. And so a 2-spot bump may be a bit rich, but it's just the way that it worked out this week. And, with Von gone, I'm not sure that they're really going to get any better than this. And I don't know, man. The Broncos' best days are probably already behind them for this year. They started off the season great. They fell. Now they got a win. That's great. I don't have a whole lot of faith in them at this point. But they do still have a pretty talented roster. So maybe they'll find a way to creep up again. Back to you at 21, man.
All right, 21, I have the Panthers. I mean, their defense played well and well enough in the game to win. It looks like they got a 2-spot bump. Looks like McCaffrey's going to be coming back shortly for them, and it's a completely different team with and without McCaffrey,
Yep.
And hopefully he can stay healthy. Yeah. 22, I have the Steelers. This feels really high for the Steelers team. I think it's a shit team, but they are starting to play better together, and that offensive line is starting to gel, and Najee Harris is starting to get the swing of things. So they got a 2-spot bump after beating Cleveland. At 23, I have the Vikings. They dropped 2 spots. I'm pissed off about the Vikings. I just don't want to go into it. Like they're
Sure.
just like, how do you lose to a backup quarterback? It's like how do you lose?
Central Michigan. Wow.
Yeah, come on. Michigan State's supposed to beat Central Michigan. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
24, have the Bears, dropped them 2 spots. I actually liked what I saw out of the Bears, but they lost, and the 2 teams behind them won, so they kind of dropped down a little bit, because I think the other 2 teams, the Carolina Panthers and the Steelers, played better than the Bears and are looking better. Looked better than the Bears the past couple weeks. We'll see what happens this week, because the Bears are playing the Steelers. That's a lovely, it's Monday night game. At 25, I have the Broncos. They got a 1-spot bump. I kind of put my rankings together before I actually fully digested the Von Miller trade.
Okay.
And I think it actually should have dropped them, even though they won last week.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think with a lot of mine, like the Aaron Rodgers thing, the Von Miller thing, all these kind of things, like even with the Derrick Henry injury, it's like I gave them credit for their wins and I bumped them, kind of knowing full well that if they don't get creative and find ways to make up for that, they're only going down from here. And so it's kind of like maybe there's a lag in when I make that adjustment just because I felt like, well, they still did get the win. But you can make the argument both ways where it's like, well, the news is out there, and so it's a factor now. And I agree with you. You could do it now or you could do it later. And I think I'm waiting. You're doing it now, and that's all good, man. Okay, so for me at 21, I got the Panthers as well. I moved them up 2 spots. I credit their defense for that win over Atlanta. And like you said, hopefully McCaffrey comes back and stays healthy because they've fallen off a cliff after the hot start to the season. They have disappeared, man, in a major way. 22, I got Minnesota. I dropped them 5 spots. Tie's the biggest drop on my board. And these guys, it's tough, man. They're playing hard. They really are. They're playing good football for the most part, but they keep losing, and so I can't keep holding them up on my board. Eventually, you got to get some fucking wins. And it's the same thing at 23. I got the Giants. I dropped them down 2 spots. This team, despite so many injuries this year, has played hard in almost every football game, but they just can't fucking close them out. And so I can't, and I hate the Giants anyhow, so I'm surprised I got them at 23. But at 24, I got Philly. I moved them up a spot. I was hesitant to push them. I got Atlanta at 25. I was hesitant to put them above Atlanta because, they beat Detroit. It was a dominant win, man. I mean, fuck, they scored like 44 points or whatever, and it just, but Detroit's the worst team on my board, and either way, I did it. And then at 25, I got Atlanta. I dropped them down a spot. They lost to a team that was slightly higher than them on the board, and so, it drops appropriate there. Back to you at 26, man.
All right, 26, I have the Eagles. I was hesitant to give them any bump up after beating Detroit, but they seriously manhandled Detroit. And with the Falcons at 27, we have them right there. I have these teams a little lower. The reason why I think the Falcons are below the Eagles, and it's 100% the Calvin Ridley news where he's stepping away, and I think that weakens the team a lot. So they dropped down 2 spots with that. 28, I have the Jets. They beat one of my top 10 teams, lucky or not. They got a 2-spot bump to 28. The Lions, this is probably fucking high for this team. They are what are they? 0-15 now. Winless team. Wait, they won't lose this week though. They won't lose. I can guarantee it. They won't lose this week.
Well, yeah, because it's bye week time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They
still ain't winning.
I didn't think they were going to win last week.
Hey there, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Played a little word game, are you?
Exactly. The Lions dropped down 1 spot. I probably should have smoked them more, but I'm still holding on to hope that they're better than my team that I have at 30, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who also dropped 1 spot. I'm holding on to hope that this Lions team is just slightly better than the Jaguars or the teams I have below them.
I gotcha. Okay, so over my way at 26, I'll tell you this, 26 through 32, I've actually only had one team make a move. And so I got Chicago at 26, and really like almost all these teams in the next group lost. So there was kind of like nowhere for them to go. Jacksonville, I got after that at 27, Washington 28, the Jets at 29, they moved up a spot. And then Miami at 30, they moved down a spot. I will say this about Miami. Nobody was expecting them to get a win over the Bills, and so that's fine. But nobody was expecting them to start the year 1-7 either. There was such high expectations for this team in the offseason, and really, unless something crazy happens, their 2021 season, it's already all but over. I'm so freaking, I don't know, dude. I really bought into Flores in this team last year, and it just has me bitter that they've played this shittily all season, man.
Yeah, I agree with you on Miami. I have Houston above Miami. Houston at 31, Miami at 32. Uh, it's just because I think Houston is just has a slightly better situation than Miami. Like I take the Deshaun Watson shit outside, but Miami's basically basically begging for Houston's scraps
Yeah,
at this point, and so that's why I have the Texans ahead of them.
I gotcha. Yeah, and I've got Houston at 31. I've got Detroit at 32. I think that for Houston, the one positive thing is that it looks like Tyrod Taylor is going to be coming back this week. And
Hmm.
they actually were pretty fucking competitive early on in the year before he got hurt. And so I'm interested to see how that looks with him coming back into the lineup. And then with the Lions, hey, we talked about it, man. That very well might have been their last chance to get a win this year, and it didn't happen. So that fucking sucks. Um, yeah, that's the Week 9 power rankings. Let's kick it over to the Week 9 game picks. And so, James, season to date, here's where we're at. You've got 72 wins, which is good for 60%. I've got 76 wins, which is good for 63%. We are both fucking lagging in how we performed last year. And so, I don't know what to say except we better get our shit together, man. Um, and I'm still using mostly my power rankings for my picks. And some of it I'm going gut and I'm trumping the power rankings. And maybe that's part of my problem. Maybe I need to just take the time, build out the model like I did last year, make it more scientific. Um, I just thought, man, the model almost always picked the favor, and it just seemed like I needed to put a little bit more of my gut instinct into it this year. And so far, it's not paying off for me. So just full disclosure on that. And so last night, we'll just start there. It was the New York Jets at the Indianapolis Colts. I picked the Colts. At the last minute, you flipped your pick to the Jets. You got on that Mike White hype train, and he got hurt. Josh Johnson actually played a pretty good game, but it wasn't enough, and they lost. And so I don't know, man. I feel like I've won almost every Thursday night this year. I've picked them right, which is nice. But um, you were feeling a little frisky, and it just didn't work for you, man.
Yeah, I got a little ahead of myself on it. It's fine.
That's okay. You got to live dangerously sometimes. So going to Sunday, we got Atlanta at New Orleans. Who do you like there?
I just I just think this Atlanta team is kind of a shit team right now, and I don't like what I'm seeing out of them. Yeah, does it concern me that Trevor Simeon's starting versus and they lost Jameis? Yeah, it does a little bit, but I just think the Saints are that much better and will beat Atlanta this week.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think Atlanta's they could be entering the death spiral without Calvin Ridley. And I think the Saints, here's the thing. So I was shocked to find this out, but Mark Ingram is number 3 in the NFL in rushing yards after last week with 615 yards. And when I saw that, it made me wonder why Houston traded him. And I get it. They got David Johnson, they've got Philip Lindsay, whatever. But it just seemed like Ingram's producing, keep it rolling. But I'm excited for New Orleans to get him back because he had a legit role there for years as a complementary piece. And so they know how to use him. And I do like that tandem with him and Kamara. And so I think that that's a nice boost for the Saints. And so I'm going New Orleans as well. Next up, we got Denver at Dallas. Who do you like there?
It's looking more and more likely that Dak's going to be back this week, and with Dak Prescott, this Dallas team's one of the top teams in the league, and there's no way that the Broncos can, especially with after trading away Von Miller, there's no way that the Broncos will beat Dallas at all.
Yeah, I agree
I
with
don't even
you.
see this game as close.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, similar to last week, I would take Dallas even if Cooper Rush is starting again. When I read about this game, I was kind of another shock thing. I saw Denver has won 6 straight against Dallas. I mean, however they pulled that off, it changes this week. In their defense, Dallas's defense has been a game changer too. Trevon Diggs has 7 fucking picks. Nobody was expecting this out of Dallas's defense. Obviously, Dak and that offense, they're like wildly on fire when he's healthy. But with the way the defense has played, I think Dallas could be a fucking dark horse Super Bowl team, and I know we've said that before. Next up, we got New England at Carolina.
The Stephon Gilmore revenge game.
Hey, there you go. I didn't even think about
Still
that.
going to go with New England. I mean, both teams, they have similar records. I just think the trajectory of the Patriots is on the incline, while the trajectory of the Panthers is on the decline. So I'm going to go
Yeah.
with the Patriots here.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're inverted right now. I like the Patriots in this game. I like that Mac Jones is 8th in the NFL in passing yards, is a rookie. That's impressive. And Damian Harris, their running back, is quietly number 7 in rushing yards. And so I like the Patriots. Just throwing a couple stats out there for factual information purposes. Next up, we got Minnesota at Baltimore.
So I saw an interesting stat when I was looking at this game. The Ravens have 149.4 yards rushing average per game. Average per game, they have 106.6 yards rushing before contact. It's like, that's ridiculous.
It is.
So, I mean, you're getting second level before the guy's even being touched. So, I mean, you're what, 7, 8 yards downfield before you're getting touched anyways. So, look, the Ravens are coming off the bye. Minnesota's kind of middling around the bottom of the league and can't seem to get things together. So, I'm going to go with the Ravens.
I'm with you. I'm going Baltimore. And I did pick up a nice little tidbit that they have won 11 straight against NFC opponents. And so I do kind of think it's a good matchup for Minnesota with the way their defense plays going up against that offense. They're really good at stopping tight ends. And as you know, Mark Andrews is Lamar Jackson's top weapon. But I just still think Baltimore's a superior team. Definitely helps coming off the bye. So I'm going Baltimore. And it's in Baltimore. Next up, we got Cleveland at Cincinnati.
All right, so a couple of stats I saw coming into this game is in their last 7, Cleveland's 0-7 against the spread against divisional opponents. I'm sorry, since the start of last season. And this year they're 0-3 against the spread against teams with winning records, and Cincinnati's favored. The other thing interesting, Jamar Chase is the 3rd most receiving yards in the league this year so far. He has, through his first 8 games, he's 2nd all time with 786 yards. And I'm not even going to ask you, because I'm going to say the guy's name and you're going to be like, who the fuck is that? The person that had the most receiving yards in his first 8 games was Harlan Hill in 1954.
Just a little before my time.
Yeah. So if he has 84 yards this week, he'll pass Marquez Colson for the most receiving yards through the first 9 games. I'm on Cincinnati.
Okay. So I will say this. I am impressed, crazy impressed with Jamar Chase, especially after all that offseason buzz about him dropping passes left and right. It looked like, holy cow, this could be a disaster, and he has dominated. And so on top of all those yards, he's tied at 4th with 7 touchdown receptions. I mean, that's, that combination of yards and touchdowns is what every team dreams of in their wide receiver one. All the debate about whether they should have taken Penny Sewell to protect Burrow, I think they got it right here, man. And I thought Sewell was the pick for them for sure. But Chase has been fucking dominant. With all that being said, it's crazy, but I'm going with Cleveland. I still have Cleveland higher on my board, and even though they're banged up, they got some shit going on. Baker Mayfield, I watched that one game last year where he just like laser focused in that Cincinnati game and played great. I think something like that happens again. Maybe I'm crazy, who knows? But if Cleveland loses, this is probably where I start to let go of the vine a little bit and let them slip. And then I mean, hey, I do got to remember too the Bengals did just lose to the Jets, so it's kind of like I think I could make good arguments either way in this one, and so I'm defaulting to the higher team on my board. Um, Next up, we got Buffalo at Jacksonville. I dare you to take the underdog.
Um, yeah,
Don't take that trap.
no, I'm not going to take that trap. It's top five team versus bottom five team,
Yeah,
and Buffalo's going to beat down the Jaguars.
yeah. There's nothing even to say about it. Buffalo all the way in this one.
What,
Uh,
45-7?
I was going to say three, but I got you. We're close.
Yeah.
Um, okay, Houston at Miami.
The battle of the bottom feeders.
Oh yeah, the dumpster fire.
Um, I almost want like I really I'm going to pick Houston because I think Houston is just slightly better. I could see Miami winning this game because I could see Tua going out. Yeah, you didn't want me, Houston. Look, fuck you, and and throw for 400 yards and 5 TDs just to show them. See, that's what I thought. You really should have wanted me, motherfuckers.
That's an
But
interesting way to put it. Yeah.
but I'm on Houston. Houston's getting Tyrod Taylor back, and they look like you said they look pretty decent with Tyrod Taylor. They look better with Tyrod Taylor at the beginning of the season before they
Yeah.
lost him.
Yeah, and that's I'm going Houston as well, and it's just because of that. They were very competitive in those early games with him at quarterback. I just don't trust Miami, even though I would say that on paper I think Miami has more talent. They have just played like dog shit, and so I'm going Houston here. Next up, we got the Raiders at the Giants.
I'm gonna say that the Giants looking actually decent last week was more of a reflection on Kansas City than the Giants. And I'm also hearing Giant. I also read that Saquon's out, even though he had a false positive test for COVID.
Oh, okay.
So he was taken off that, but he's out with an ankle injury. So I'm gonna go with the Raiders. My hesitancy is the wide receivers with
Yeah,
Vegas and
yeah.
who is Derek Carr going to throw the ball to? But I'm gonna go with the Raiders.
Hunter Renfro, it'll happen. I'm going with the Raiders as well, and I will say this: I was looking at some of the stats. Linebacker Denzel Perryman is number 3 in the league right now with 81 tackles, and it just blows my mind that Carolina didn't hang on to that guy. He's been a gift for that Raiders defense, man. But whatever, neither here nor there. It's happened, and it's working out for the Raiders. Next up, we got the Chargers at the Eagles.
So this game, I like the Chargers in this game. I could see the Eagles keeping it close, with the fact that the Chargers have struggled against teams that are physical, and the Eagles are looking like a physical team offensively, and the Eagles can run the ball, which
Yeah.
is where the Chargers struggle is stopping the run. But I just think the Chargers are that much better than the Eagles that they can make up for it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going with the Chargers. That running game aspect is a factor. Hurts has 432 rushing yards at quarterback through week 8. And the Chargers are the league's worst defense against the run, allowing 159.4 yards per game. That could make it interesting. but I do think the Chargers are the better team. I think they're significantly the better
Hmm.
team. It's just that one aspect can be a little bit of a wild card. Next up, we got Green Bay at Kansas City.
And I know on the spreadsheet I sent you, you think that that's a misprint or that like I must have missed
No, no,
something.
no, 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 no.
Um, all right. While it's in Kansas City and that's a rough place to have your first start because of how loud it is. The Kansas City defense is kind of mediocre this year. And I think that's a perfect situation for Jordan Love to make his first start against. Also, Devontae Adams and is going to be back, and I'm just down on the Chiefs right now, and
Yeah.
so I'm going to go with the Packers.
Hey, I like you taking that pick. I'm going with the Chiefs, but honestly, I even without Aaron Rodgers, I could see this game going either way because the Chiefs have been so sloppy this year. But I'm going to stick with them, and hey, we'll see how it shakes out. Next up, we got Arizona at San Francisco, the 49ers.
So my pick is assuming Kyler Murray's not playing. And without Kyler Murray, I don't think the Cardinals can win at San Francisco. These teams are really two different teams, yeah, two different spots than they were when they played earlier in the season. The Cardinals have Murray dinged up, they have Hopkins dinged up, AJ Green's out, JJ Watt's no longer there, while the Niners are getting Kittle back. Garoppolo is going to be playing versus the first time it was Trey Lance. Um, so yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers again. I might not even change that if it comes out that Kyler is going to play, but I'm going to go with the 49ers. I think the 49ers are just in a better situation than they were the first game. That was a 7-point game.
I gotcha, and I like your analysis. I'm going to go with Arizona nonetheless. They're still the number two team on my board, and so, um, you know, if they lose, then I reevaluate and I probably drastically change things going forward. But I'm going to stick to the board here for at least this game and see what happens. Next week, or next week, next up, we got Tennessee at the Los Angeles Rams.
All right, so I was really excited to watch this game and see what Tennessee can do
Yeah,
before Henry went out.
yeah.
And then with the with trading for Von Miller, and I mean Tannehill's going to struggle this week. It's just he's going to be sacked. They're going to be able to stop the run without Henry, without that big physical presence of Henry. The Titans have no shot at really running the ball, getting that offense, and the offense goes through the running game for Tennessee. So I think the offense is going to struggle, and I'm going to go with the Rams.
I'm with you. I'm going with the Rams here as well. Derrick Henry, just a little fun fact for you. He was almost a full 300 yards ahead of the number two rusher in the league. When he went out, he had 937 yards. The number two guy is Jonathan Taylor with the Colts at 649. Flipping it to the other team, Stafford throwing a fucking ridiculous 9.1 yards per pass attempt. And with him sitting at 22 passing touchdowns, I mean, really, he's just like a hair behind Tom Brady in the MVP race at this point. I was excited that Derrick Henry was in the conversation, and I would have loved to have seen it be him. But, you're talking one team loses their MVP candidate, another, the guy is fucking really rocking it. So I'm going with the Rams here. Next up, we got the Chicago Bears at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So in this game, I'm going to say Justin Fields is going to be the third rookie quarterback, including playoffs, to beat Ben Roethlisberger in a game. Can you name the other two?
Oh, fuck. Off the top of my head, no, just give them to me.
Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott.
I never would have guessed those two guys.
Those are the only two rookie quarterbacks, and both those were in the same year
Wow. I
in
like that. I like that
2016.
stat there, man. That's cool.
So, anyways, Justin Fields is going to be number three. That Yeah, Fields has shown a tendency to throw interceptions. The Steelers defense hasn't we had an interception since week 5 against Teddy Bridgewater, and they're just the defense is starting to come together, but I don't think they can keep Fields in the pocket, and I think he's going to have some big plays against them, and the Bears are going to win the game.
Okay. Well, I'm going Pittsburgh here, and I didn't do a deep dive to be totally honest. I just looked at my board. I looked at Fields has been just wildly inconsistent. Like you kind of said earlier, it seems like Pittsburgh maybe is kind of coming together. They're running the ball better. They're getting maybe a little bit more stable. I just decided, hey, it's in Pittsburgh. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I'm not going to overthink this thing. But honestly, it's weird saying Chicago, Pittsburgh. I don't even give a shit about this game. Like it's
Mm.
just these two teams are like a shell of themselves. The Bears historically dominant defense, fucking iconic team. Same with the Steelers, just typically a fucking dominant defense, iconic team. And both these teams are fucking afterthoughts this year. So I'm going Pittsburgh, and I'm not gonna think too hard about it. um, Next up, looking forward to next Thursday, we got Baltimore at Miami. Man, who do you like there? I mean, I gotta ask. So.
Yeah, I know you got to ask. There's no way Miami's can beat Baltimore. I
They
mean, I don't
shouldn't.
even I don't even have Miami beating Houston. How the hell can they beat Baltimore?
It would be a sad day, but the Jets have beat some fucking good teams. So could Miami sneak one in there? Who knows? No, I'm with you. You got to go Baltimore in this one. It's a no-brainer. Like I don't see any kind of like crazy, oh hey, look at this one matchup. It could be the game change. I don't see any of that in this game. It's like we talked about earlier with Philly and the Chargers. You could say, oh man, that running game aspect, that could be a game changer. You never know. I don't see any shit like that between Baltimore and Miami. It's all Baltimore, man.
So correct me, is there only one game this week of teams above two teams above 500?
Dude, if that's true, that's like such a ridiculous trend this year.
Yeah, there's a couple 500 teams. Like if you wanted to include at 500, there's a couple more. But yeah, it's just the Sunday night game.
Jeez, man. Yeah, I don't know. Something about the schedule this year. It's kind of been funny the way that's worked out. Okay, so those are the game picks for week 9. Let's kick it over to question of the week. I know I kind of spilled the beans on this earlier, James. I just fucking got rolling and couldn't stop myself. But the question of the week is, should the Lions sign Deshaun Jackson? I would say if they could pull off the cap space, the alternative is go after OBJ. But, for the purposes of Deshaun Jackson, I know it's not a great fit. I know the guy's past his prime. There's probably nothing left there. It's just that Detroit is so anemic at wide receiver that it seems like you could at least put him out there as a threat as a burner. And with how well they've been running the ball, just do a couple play action things here and there where you just drop the bomb. They got nothing to lose. Even if Goff doesn't connect with him because he's really not a good deep passer, it's going to at least make things a little bit exciting for that offense and maybe open it up a little bit more. I don't really know. It just seems like they got nothing to lose at this point. And I don't know that there's any better alternative for them. And they could probably get him for like the league veteran minimum at this point with every team passing on the guy. But I don't know. That's just my crazy thing here, man. What do you think?
So for it to make sense, you have to have a quarterback that can actually throw the deep ball.
All right.
And it has to be a legitimate threat for it to do anything. And I don't think Goff is a legitimate threat to throw the deep ball. So I'm going to say no. If Sean McVay can't find a way to utilize him in his offense,
It's over.
it's over. It's over.
I got you.
Secondarily, you mentioned OBJ. There's actually really two potential landing spots I see for OBJ. And I'm going to delve into that because that's where I thought you were going to go with the question of the week.
All right. Yeah, let me hear it.
But so the Saints, with losing Michael Thomas for the season, I think that's a good flyer for the Saints to take. They can figure it out. And the Raiders need Henry Ruggs was a deep threat for the Raiders. So either Deshaun Jackson or OBJ to the Raiders for a kind of a deep threat that they had or that they lost when they cut Ruggs.
I gotcha. I'd be good either of those spots. I think it works. It makes good sense. All right. Well, hey, so similar to Name That Stadium, for anybody who's watching or listening, we want you to share your thoughts, and so feel free, hit us up in the comments section, answer our question of the week. And James, that's all I got for tonight, man. You got any closing thoughts?
No, I think that's all I had.
Okay. Well, hey, for anybody who's watching or listening, we appreciate your support. We hope you liked the show. If you did, hit us up with a thumbs up, shoot us some comments, or if you really like us, hit subscribe, all that kind of fun jazz. And we'll be kicking this thing every week like we do, so we'll be back at it next Friday. James, like always, man, it's been fun. I'll catch you later.
All right, have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.